Hello and welcome to the What the Falk Sunderland review show live from Tuscany, at least for one of us. The lads got back to winning ways on Friday night as we smashed Sheffield Wednesday within the first half an hour to win 3-0. A bit of a damn squib that second half, but it was easy, it was fun. And we have two lads here who are going to have a lovely chat with me about it. But first and foremost, Ross Black, how are you? You okay?
I'm brilliant, thank you very much, Graham. In the not so sunny weathers of England, I'm sure you'll be sunning it up over there, living the dream.
No comment. Dave, how are you feeling? You all right?
Yeah, very much the same, mate. Very good. Always nice after a victory, isn't it? And hello, we're not too pessimistic nowadays. And I tell you what, the world's just starting to notice that Sunderland play very, very attractive football. I kind of don't want them to notice too much because we quite like to keep our players in the squad if we could. But let's see. Let's put it this way: 7 million for Jack Clarke is not going to cut the mustard, is it?
It wasn't even by his boots at the minute, to be fair. Ross, it was an easy win. Like, we were good, they were awful. But a win's a win's a win. And it was a kind of game where Sunderland would probably be banana skinned and would give Sheffield Wednesday their first 3 points of the season and seasons past. But it's a different Sunderland. But how are you feeling the morning after?
Yeah, delighted, really. With all the stuff coming out from Sheffield Wednesday yesterday, I was like, this is either going to go one way or the other. We're going to batter them, or they're going to be so galvanised and they'll probably just nick a point, or nick, even the worst thing, nick a 1-0 or something like that. But we just took control from the first minute. And we weren't bothered about the boisterous atmosphere at the first 6 minutes, and that early goal just brings out all the negativity from their stands, and we just get our confidence back, like back to normal after Cardiff. Goals there. Like you say, the second half was a non-entity, but we managed to bring players off and rest players and get players minutes. It was overall a weird day goes. 3-0 up at half time, rest players before midweek game. No injuries to my knowledge. It's a perfect night, really.
Yeah, honestly, couldn't complain. It was a weird experience for me because it's the first time I've watched a match on a plane. But my plane had Wi-Fi, so I had like this horrendous Wi-Fi, and it got particularly bad second half. So I was delighted that we played really well first half, and then particularly in the first sort of 8 minutes. But Dave, we were happy last week. Like, although we got beaten, it was a pain in the ball sack. But like, I think yesterday showed you everything that Sunderland are about at the minute. I know Sheffield are absolutely awful, but like watching a team that is quite obviously in disarray, just being completely unable to cope with Sunderland, when in times past we would probably be the team that would be like, all right, roll over, have your first win of the season. It just shows you how much of a different beast this team is. We're quite ruthless at points, aren't we, Dave?
Yeah, very much. On top of the clear promise that you've got of some players, you've also got some very, very, very good quality players in there. I don't think Patrick Roberts had the greatest game of his life. I think he's still trying a bit too hard to impress. But then you see the class of that touch from the right-hand side and then the little chop back inside. And you're just like, wow, what a footballer. Job turned up in a different position yesterday, very good. Pritchard was outstanding. You could go through them all. But one thing that is very clear to me, and I think maybe one of the commentators alluded to it yesterday, the gulf in class between divisions is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. You see the three teams in the Premier League that got promoted last year. It's absolutely massive. Granted, Ipswich have settled in well, but it just proves what we'd said a good few seasons ago. If you don't get the right players in and play the right style of football in anticipation of getting promoted, and not just trying to do it on a one-season wonder, you fall flat on your face. Sheffield Wednesday are in for an absolutely brutal season. Even the world's greatest footballer, Barry Bannon, I mean, he was injured last night, but I don't think he's going to make much of a difference. It tells you everything, doesn't it? When it's not a Sheffield Wednesday pod, so I apologise, but when the likes of Windass and Bannon are, you're saying that you're struggling because you haven't got them too. I wouldn't have said they're the best championship footballers in the world. So long season for them. But you're right. It's a new Sunderland. we're probably not now, we're 2 years into it, but where it's this whole new ethos where games like that last night, the fact that you need a bounce back from the fact we got beat, it's brilliant. We've been saying it for a couple of years now. They bounce back all the time. The spirit is brilliant. You saw the way that Luke O'Nien and Jack Clarke had a bit of crack with the Sky cameras. It's absolutely fantastic. Love it. Roll on next week. Can't wait already.
Couldn't stop laughing at Jack Clarke's interview where, like, I can't remember who the commentator was, and it was Mickey Gray, and they were like telling him everything he'd done in the game, and like, what a night it's been for you. And he went, yeah. It was like, you did score 2 goals, Jack. And he was like, yeah, well, the defense played well. And it was just spot on. Like, I mean, I think the bloke's an absolute magician. But I think it does, like, it shows you how good that us and, I mean, Ipswich could do it again this season as well. They started really well, but like they've got to keep it up the whole season. Shows you how well we did last season to achieve what we did. But I think there's been a bit of chat about it, and it's a different podcast entirely, but about Alex Neil. And, I want to stand behind the opinion that I had, that I thought Alex Neil going was an absolute disaster. I thought we needed experience in the team. I kind of backed what his thought process was behind it. And the more I watch Sunderland, we're over a year on now from him gone. And I just think, like, like sliding doors moments. Alex Neil would have never went if Stoke didn't come in. And that moment that Tony Mowbray's come in and got these players, it's almost like a marriage made in heaven. It just feels brilliant. Like, these young boys being guided by a really likable granddad-like character that obviously knows his football. Is the best marriage we've had. Brad said the other week, best thing that's happened to Sunderland since Peter Reid, and I really wanted to disagree with him, and I'm struggling. I'm struggling to do that. But Ross, Brad's on a bit late because I forgot to send him the link. It's not his fault, so I will send him the link. But whilst I'm sending him said link, Ross, can you give me your standout plays if you possibly can?
I know it's easy to say Jack Clarke, he scored the goals and everything, but I'm going to go a bit rogue. I thought Mason Burstow had his best game in the Sunderland shirt last night. He was very good. He was influential. The ball over to Clarke for his first was tremendous to pinpoint that. And then the turn to win the penalty was outstanding. He done their centre-back like an absolute kipper. He made some good runs in behind second half where he was waiting for the ball to be played in. And I think that when Mowbray alluded to his frustration about going for the jugular, that was it. So we maybe played the safe pass second half just to keep possession because we didn't want to risk losing the ball and then potentially losing control. But off the ball, I thought Burstow had his best game in a Sunderland shirt. And I think if he just needs that goal, Burstow, because like I say, yesterday was his best game. He managed to, the ball to Clarke was outstanding. And the move for the penalty was just unbelievable. The defender didn't know what to do. And I'm guessing performances like that have made Brad very hungover as Brad arrives.
I feel really bad because, like, I would normally blame Brad for being late, but it's 100% my fault. I forgot to send the link. But what I would say is that I have done some good things by making sure that we only do this on an audio medium as opposed to visual, because the sight that we're all seeing right now is not something that I'd wish on my worst enemy. Brad, what an entrance, mate. How are you doing? You all right?
Good morning. Yeah, very good. Very good. Very good night it was. Just what a performance, especially first half. Loved it. You just knew, like we said, I think we were talking about, weren't we? If we get an early goal, there's going to be no stopping us. And really after that, second half, I don't know if you've mentioned already, it just felt like a training game. You knew Sheffield Wednesday weren't going to come back at us and just give us the opportunity to get minutes into some of the lads and not take risks with some of the other lads who played maybe near enough every minute. Just get them off, rest them, and go again midweek.
Dave pointed out a few players before you pointed out a few players before Ross picked out Burstow. It's becoming like a regular thing where you're going like, well, who was your best player? Who was the standout? And we're all kind of disagreeing or we're all agreeing and then chucking somebody else in, because 9 times out of 10, like 11 of the players on the pitch have been all really excellent, bar maybe 1 or 2 people. I thought Pritch was great again last night. Burstow was excellent. I thought he had a really good game. But who stood out for you last night, Dave?
Yeah, you can probably go 1 to 11, can't you? Pato made a great save in the second half with nothing to do and nothing riding on it. I thought his distribution was pretty good. The times that he had it, not much. You can only play on percentages. I thought Luke O'Nien was excellent. I think what a turnaround for me. Exactly the same as the rest of us. We don't mind being wrong. And I was probably that guy 4 years ago who was saying that I love Luke's smile, but he's technically not that sound. I genuinely think he's as technically sound as they come now. Both feet, in possession, out of possession. I love him. I absolutely love him. Andy's smile. Love it all. Andy saves dogs. What am I? Yeah. I couldn't find anyone. I thought Dan Neil was very mature without being too flashy. Honestly, I just can't find. What's the matter with me? I can't find a problem with anyone at the minute. Yeah, love it. What a boring podcast.
Definitely doesn't have enough energy the daylight, let's be honest.
No. No. I think, you said 1 to 11. It could be there as well, Dave. But like Ashish, or French Dave, as we've been calling him, he looked a different gravy when he came on again. And like, you talk about 1 to 11, but now it's even the subs are coming on and you're going, like Abdullah, I think, was quite unlucky to be dropped. You've got to get Roberts back in there. I know some people disagree, but for me, Roberts has got to be in your starting 11. But Barr's like, we said his Barr even a winger, has he got a position? And within 3 games, we're like, well, yeah, he's a winger, but you could also put him in the 10, you could put him in the midfield. I don't think I'd have too many problems with it. But there's one man at the minute, Ross, that's just absolutely unbelievable. He's slowly going up that kind of ranking of favourite Sunderland players ever. Jack Clarke. I mean, I don't even know what I'm trying to ask you here, Ross, but what can you say about him?
Yeah, he's mint, isn't he? He's just an old school winger who scores goals. He's a great penalty taker as well, which we've realised, which is nice. I'm sure he's scored every penalty he's took with Sunderland, so nice little conversion rate. And he's the best player in the league, in my opinion, on current form. And you look at the money being banded around. I'm not trying to sell him, but like it is relatable when it comes to the interest he's inevitably going to get from teams like Palace, who will link Brentford. If players like Nathan Teller's going for 25 million, then he's worth 25, 30 million. I don't care. He's doing everything that Nathan Teller was doing last season, cutting inside, scoring goals, being the talisman in a team that's going to hopefully fight for promotion or playoff, either way. To me, he's outstanding. He's always had this potential, Clarke, and he was great in parts last season, but he even said in his interview with Sky after, he maybe didn't score enough goals. If he adds goals to his game with the assists that he already does and the impact he makes on the pitch, because teams are now terrified of him. You've seen Cardiff, we should have won, we had chances. They did a job on us, but they had to take 3 players over to that side just to stop him. If Roberts is on his game, Pritchard's on his game, Achichi's on his game, Burstow's on his game, it's going to free up so much space for them because you've got Clarke just on the side. They're going to have to put like 3 players on to stop him. He's that good at this level in the current form. And to have, I don't know what it is with Sunderland wingers, but when they're on the game, there's nothing better than seeing them run at defenders and seeing genuinely like decent players shit themselves when he comes at them.
That was a great pronunciation. I was calling him a Chochichi the other week, so I feel bad for him, man. That's why I call him French Dave. But you're right with Clarke. I mean, he's completely unplayable at the moment, and there's just nothing that teams can seem to do. And I know Cardiff will say, "Oh, well, yada yada yada," but like he got past them a few times as well, even when they had 2 or 3 people on. And if you've got someone that could finish their dinner last week, he's probably got 2 assists in his locker there. he's just, I can't even begin to put enough praise on him. And I feel like I'm just saying things that everyone else has said, but I kind of agree on current form. He's the best player in the league, like by an absolute long shot. And I think they were saying on the commentary yesterday, you can't give Jack Clarke that much space. And you can't, but it's all about the ball from Burstow and his ability to find the space. Then it's not just his ability to find the space, it's the fact that he skips through 3 or 4 players. And that's the second time in 3 games we've seen him skip past 2 or 3 players and set them down, basically, and then stick it in the bottom corner. Did the same against Blackburn. Sometimes at this level, you just can't stop stuff like that. And I think it's not about Sheffield being crap or not having enough space, because Clarke's done that with a really good side in Blackburn the other week and just sat them down just because he fancied it. I don't want to sell him either. I'd be so sad if we sold him, but you know, in the modern day world, there'll be people interested in them. It's 70 million or something you get if you go to the Premier League in it. So 70 million, please, Burnley. That's what I'm holding out for. But Brad, you were the one of us that was actually there last night and not watching the game on Wi-Fi on the plane. Just talk me through watching Jack Clarke last night again, because I don't want to stop speaking about him. That's kind of what to be honest, I don't want to stop speaking about Jack Clarke. So let's just speak about him.
Yeah, mate, I think you have just summed him up really. You can't really say many more positives about him. He's just that good. And like you say, like, teams know what he's going to do. Everyone knows what he's going to do, but you just can't stop it. He's just too good. And I keep forgetting as well, he's 22 years old. Like, at this age, are the ones where like they're going through that stage of getting better and better before they hit the peak. So if he's not even at his peak yet, it's frightening how high the ceiling is for him. I mean, the finish was unbelievable, wasn't it? Like, yeah, it's just great watching him, because even when things don't come off for him, when we've said it before, the prime example was Middlesbrough away last season. And I'll always go back to that. It was probably his worst game for us, but he was probably the only player on the pitch willing to get back on the ball and try again and try again. And if at first you don't succeed, keep going. And he's a prime example of it. He's just outstanding, mate. And is he top scorer in the league now? I think, yeah.
I think
last
so.
night.
Yeah. Something like
so
that.
So being top scorer in the league, and he's a winger. Realistically, he's a winger, not now. It's funny you have said how, like, Burstow, that was his best game for us last night by a mile. But we laughed at Speakman last season when he said we don't really play with a number 9. It shows that we're more than capable of scoring goals when we don't need a number 9 at times, because the goals are coming from all over the place. When you've got players like Jack Clarke one side and Patrick Roberts at the other side, who I think needs to start getting goals to his game this season. And we could be unstoppable. And if one of these strikers now step up and start banging a couple in, there's no reason we can't push for the top 2, in my opinion. And like you say, I think it makes this season more important that we do aim to get promoted, because there's not a chance on this earth Jack Clarke stays with us next season if we're in the Championship. And as much as it'll break my heart, he doesn't deserve to be in the Championship next season. And no one can blame him if someone comes in, he's a Premier League club, and he wants to leave to go and try himself in the Premier League. You can't blame him. He'll have done 2 years in the Championship with us, and his numbers already are going to be unbelievable this season. They were last season. So let's just hope that he's in the Premier League next season with Sunderland, because he's easily a Premier League footballer right now.
Yeah, I've got to agree. I think he is as well. And it's funny you touched on Speakman there before, and I think you could probably go back to numerous podcasts with us and other podcasts and stuff and find rights and wrongs. And someone was talking about it on Ready to Go the other day that we were very vocally wanted Alex Neil to have charge of the transfers. 100%, like, absolutely agree. But I really pride ourselves on our ability to, like, be flexible in our opinions and, like, not just stick our heels in and stick to our guns and say, well, I was right, and wait for a result to prove us right. Like, I don't think that's what we as a podcast are really about. I personally think that I was not a big fan of speaking on the model, and I've been proven completely and utterly wrong. Because I thought Ross Stewart going would be a disaster, because I thought, well, we need a striker. And you've touched on it there. He said we don't really play with number 9, and a few people criticised him, me included, heavily. And I'm not going to shy away from that. And I'm really, really pleased to say that Christian Speakman knows a lot more about football than me. But let's be honest, in the past, I would say I've got more football now than some of the people in his position previously. But I'm very, very pleased to say that Christian Speakman is not Defante and people like that. And I think it's about time I give him a massive amount of credit, and the whole recruitment team, because they're getting it right at the minute. And I'm absolutely loving being a Sunderland fan. I think it's been great. But look, we wouldn't normally do this, Ross, but I kind of want to, because I think, you know, if you're a football fan, you can sort of understand it, especially if you're a Sunderland fan in the years we've had in the past. But as good as it was for us last night, I've got to be honest and say I kind of feel a bit sorry for Sheffield Wednesday. And I think as a football fan, I don't want to just completely gloss over it because they're getting shit on from a massive height. Still think we would have beaten them if they had a great chairman, and that, don't get me wrong. But that statement on match day and things like that, look, it's not a Sheffield Wednesday pod, as Dave said before, but I don't like to see good old famous clubs get absolutely taken to the wall. It's great it is to see Sunderland where we are at the minute. We can identify with what's happening at the minute at Sheffield Wednesday, can't we, Ross?
Yeah, let's be honest, that Chancellor, he's an absolute shyster, isn't he? He's an absolute chancer by the looks of it. He's
I think it's a nice word for him, Ross, to be honest.
It's like he took all the plaudits and all that when it was going well. What I found madness as well is he's got his name on the seats. You've seen that before? Like, that's full on like ego with that, and putting your name on the seats when you take over a club. That should have been red flag straight away. But I think when Darren Moore left, we said at the start of the season, didn't we, that it was a shambles the way he left, and there'd be a mess. On the pitch, that was just like watching Simon Grayson Sunderland. Absolutely honking, and they even had Ashley Fletcher come off the bench. I was like, "Fuck me, deja vu." Yeah, they were honking, but they've also drew against Leeds this season, which makes you like so glad that we just turned up and did a job, because you get teams like when we were shite and we went to Derby and beat them 4-1. Like, you get performances where you turn up and you think, you know what I mean, oh, we just got to ball here. You can get turned over, but yeah, they're an absolute mess. And it's not just Sheffield Wednesday. There's so many clubs you hear about at the minute. Like, in non-league, you've got Southend, Scunthorpe. I'm sure Morecambe are having a few issues as well. Like, there's so many chances now just getting their hands on the football clubs when they've got no intention of doing it unless they get some back out of it. And unfortunately, the way the football landscape is in a minute, it's not going to happen. And I know, like, obviously, everyone's been a bit harsh, I think, at times on Dreyfus. Off the pitch, yeah, we do need to make improvements. But fucking hell, it could be a hell of a lot worse, couldn't it? And they've done a really good job on the pitch, that's for sure.
It just really, like, and that's why I did my little bloody impassioned speech about being wrong before, is that, like, I think we've been so used to, like, what Sheffield are going through now, not just once, but like 2 or 3 times. I mean, in my lifetime, I even remember protests against Bob Murray, do you know what I mean? And he was like one of the decent ones in hindsight, but even he made mistakes at points back in the Walker Park days. But, you know, his legacy's good. Loved his interview this week about them lot up the road. I thought that was good. And then I think, you know, in the same breath, like, your football club is the fabric of a community and stuff like that. And it's all about your heart and your soul, and like Sunderland feel like it's Sunderland. It really feels like Sunderland at the minute. And I think you sometimes almost expected to go absolutely tits up because of what's happened previously. There's been times when you're going, oh, hang on, have we got it back? And then something just happens. But I've noticed for like over a year and a half now, everything that I've not wanted to happen, or most of the things I wanted to not happen. I don't want Ross Stewart to get sold. I really didn't want Alex Neil to go. I thought we needed more experience. I thought we duffed the playoffs. All our centre-halves got injured. All of our strikers got injured. The squad's too young. All these things I probably said and thought. and it's been proven right by Speakman and the recruitment team and Dreyfus. And when you see the mess that Sheffield Wednesday are, and other clubs, you mentioned Scunthorpe there, they're going through a hell of a thing at the moment where fans are getting banned and all sorts. You just realise how healthy a place our club is in. Nothing's ever perfect, but bloody hell, it's really, really good, both on the pitch, off the pitch recruitment. Yeah, we could maybe get a few more shirts in to buy, but I'm really, really happy. I'm just delighted with the way Sunderland are playing at the moment and the way that Sunderland are. I mean, Ross had just popped a point in the group chat there. There was a point when we were playing and getting beat off Scunthorpe in the Papa John's Trophy a couple of years ago, and they could be bust next week. I hope they're not from the Scunthorpe perspective, but it shows you how far we've come. And I think it's probably fair for me to say, well done, Speakman and the recruitment team and everyone that's getting us where we are at the moment. Dave, away from my impassioned speeches, it must be the wonderful scenery I'm seeing at the moment that's making me feel ever so wonderful. But one player we haven't touched on yet, and he's quietly become really good in the past couple of weeks, and finally he's getting a run in the team after a horrendous time with injuries. I thought Huggins was excellent yesterday. How important could Huggins be in terms of adding to the squad? Because I think arguably when we first saw him, we thought he could be there or thereabouts a good championship player, and he certainly looks it.
Yeah, definitely. I think when we went out and got him, the remit was he's technically very sound, hasn't played much first team football. However, his versatility can become invaluable. And yeah, he's doing a job at left back at the minute, but I can see him in a variety of positions, and it's clever recruitment again, isn't it? But last night I thought it was very, very good. Equally inept. That's a complete, not a negative word, and didn't mean to say that. You said you wanted no editing, but I had to add it in. I'm
going to have to edit this because I've had too many impassioned speeches. I'll probably need to edit some of it out.
He looked very good at driving down the line, but he also came back inside very well. I think the whole team's just fluid, and he fits into that very, very well. One thing I will say, and it just because I haven't mentioned him for a few weeks and he's gone and whatever, I tell you what, a fit Ross Stewart in that starting 11 is absolutely phenomenal, by the way. The work that he does off the ball, I've just got to see it.
Dave,
he's injured.
Can you stop talking about... Can you stop talking about Ross Stewart, because then I get all the blame on the radio.
Dave, you're like an ex who just won't let go. Just let it go, man.
I can't.
You've got to let it go.
Even I've let go of it now. Dave. The newest Stewart is an 18-year-old from Chelsea, mate, and he's called Mason, and he's better than Ross. Read.
I cannot wait till he gets his first goal. You can see it in his eyes. There was a couple of close-ups last night, and I'm like, bless you, just get that goal. Just get that goal and get yourself on a run. But yeah, the future.
You can see it in his eyes.
You can, man. I'm the emotional one of the podcast. You know what I mean? I just want the lads to do well, and I love Roscoe.
I see. I've got visions of Mason Burstow doing that thing off Little Britain. Look into my eyes, the eyes. Don't look around the eyes. Don't look around the
This podcast went like the game. We were brilliant at the start. Second half has just turned into a bit of a laugh on it. We've done all the serious stuff. We've got the win. Now it's just let's just fuck about for a bit.
Insight into the pod this week is a case of me saying, right, lads, I'm in Tuscany. I've got to get an 11 o'clock bus to Florence for this work thing. So please hurry up so I don't have to do any editing. I've got 27 minutes to edit this. It's not happening. And then on top of that, we've had Brad getting the blame for Dave's opinion on Ready to Go the other week. And being told we don't have enough energy. So thanks everyone for joining. We're finishing the podcast at this point. No, we're not. We'll keep going even if you all hate us. Quick one, Brad.
I must admit, just to cut you off. In terms of lack of energy, I can understand that comment when you go after a 3-0 win away from home on a Friday night, and you go, Ross, how are you doing? Aye, mate, I'm absolutely brilliant. Give us something, Ross, man. Just come on, give us something.
Never too high, never too low. Always in the middle. I am Mowbray's dream, just nice and chilled.
Brad, you came on late, obviously, so I'm going to fire this one to you. But 2 home games coming up. Normally you'd be excited by that, but I think, look, we've talked about the home form. We know it could be better. I think we know why it's not better, because I think teams sort of set up to just sit back and sometimes they'll shit out a goal a little bit like Cardiff did last week. When you look at the Watford game last year, I know like it felt euphoric at the time because of how we scored, and then we obviously got the playoffs and stuff like that. But I felt like Watford did that last year, like 2 corners they scored from. I think Porteous got the first one. I can't remember who got the second one, and we had to kind of rescue it late. I think the fact that we're playing Borough and Borough need results means Borough might come at us, so that makes it a bit of an easier game based on the fact that we might be able to open them up a bit. But I think if we're serious about going up the season and automatically and serious about improving the home form, you've got to see the next 2 games as at least 4 points, Brad.
Just before you said that, I was going to come on and say 4 points will be all right from them too, to be honest. Target 6. I mean, like you say, Watford last season, they did come sat deep and then got 2 goals and we had to fight back. But they've got another manager, surprise, surprise, since then. So, and I think they do play more attacking football from what I've seen. So don't be surprised if they come to us, try and do what Southampton did and we expose them. Like I was saying to people last night, if we score early or we score first in the game, I can't see us losing many games this season or even dropping points, because teams know they have to come and try and get a goal. And it just leaves them open for our attacking players to do their thing. And with Borough, however way you want to look at it, if you say it's a derby or not, it is a derby. In their eyes, it definitely is a derby because no one wants to claim them, so they try and claim anything. Their fans, Carrick's or Geordie, they won't come and just want to park the bus and just turn it into a boring game and try and nick a goal. They'll come and try and play football, and that'll suit us down to a T. So don't be surprised if we go and get 6 points and make it look very, very, very easy. But on the flip side, anything can happen in derbies. And if they do come and they do change their game plan to sit in, they've seen how Cardiff's done it and it worked. It might be a bit more difficult to break them down, but hey, we've seen Rusin come on last night. If we need to change a game by putting the ball over the top and someone with legs to run onto it, he could be that man, because he is rapid. He is so... I do genuinely believe we will comfortably win the next 2, but I'll be over the moon with 4 points, because it just keeps this, and we spoke about it the other week, momentum going. Because I think is that 5 wins in 6 now?
Yeah.
Or yeah. We're picking up a bit of pace, and I'm liking that. We're not now saying, if we win this one and this one, we can catch so and so. We're just doing it at our own pace now. And there's teams that are below us that need to catch us. Look, Preston are going to drop off at some point. Ipswich are a bit of an unknown because their first season in the Championship. They're going to hit a sticky spell at some point. Leicester, I do think they're pretty much this early on. I think they're gone. I think Leicester will romp the league, and by Christmas that'll be done really. But there's no reason we can't go and finish second. And if we're picking up points at home, if we can correct the home form by having a different way to play, and I think with these players that we've just brought in, and with a bit more experience that the lads are getting week in, week out, we will be able to find a way to break these teams down that sit in a low block. It's the ceiling's so high for a lot of our players and where they can take us this season. So, I mean, if you look at it this time last year, we'd be saying, we'll probably get a draw, maybe it's a win. I'm so confident that we will get a win, because I just can't see, if we get a goal first in the game or early doors, I can't see teams coming back into the game against us, because we are just playing with that much confidence, that much fluidity. It's fantastic, and I think teams are terrified of us. The teams are starting to be thinking, oh shit, how are we going to stop them? And the only way to do it is by not playing football against us. And if they go and do that and then they still get beat anyway, their fans aren't going to be best pleased. we've said it in the past. If we go and play football, I think Arsenal was a prime example. Let's just go and play our game against Arsenal. If we get beat, we got beat. And we came away 5-1. Got beat 5-1. We were so proud of doing it. And I was happier doing that than if we went there and just sat behind the ball and they just steamrolled us anyway. So there's different ways to look at it. I mean, I'm not saying we are Arsenal, but yeah, I'm hungover. I'm rambling on. Ross has got a good hairline. This is a great weekend.
I think I agree with all that, and I think it's the best way to put it. I just think things are in a good place, and the pod's not been in a good place today, but nonetheless, it's fine. Thanks for joining, Dave, Ross, hungover Brad. Appreciate you joining, lads, and thanks everyone for listening.
Cheers, mate. Have a good one.
Pleasure. Goodbye.